Hey, welcome to the process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is some more quick looks at 2024 preseason research. I'm in the middle of it. I know Super Bowl hadn't even been played yet. It's early February 2024. While everybody else is asleep at the wheel, some of us are knocking back the data and trying to think about things and getting some research done. As you can see, I got a bunch of PowerPoint figures here. Thought I'd just jump in and start with this. So what I did was took each year and looked at the running back averages by round and assigned the top one of the year as 100%. And then every other round's average fantasy point for end of the year was off that 100%. So, for instance, 2015, third round was at 100%. The second most interesting round, 99%, almost the same in the sixth round. So we could look before the season and then after the season. That's kind of the big picture here. So I divided into 15 to 18 because when you look at the data, it kind of breaks that way. So that doesn't mean I ignore it. It just means that I need to be aware that for the last 5 years, things have been a little different. So I generated averages across the rounds through in this case, 4 years, 15 to 18 and 19 to 23, got averages. And that led me to looking at these grand averages and then applying a graph and a trend line, polynomial trend line. Don't worry about polynomial, just I think it fits the data better. Here it's a little bit more sophisticated than the old linear trend line here, whatnot. So I think for me, as you follow, the blue is 15 to 18. You can follow it down. And of course, as you go through the draft rounds, the averages get smaller. That no surprise there. Same thing with 19 to 23. But when you look at it this way and kind of more of a top-down approach, then you're not tricked and muddled by, various players and whatnot. You're not focused in on teams and players. This is not the time of the year to be down at that level mining, right? If you're understanding about gold mining, you take the overburden off first. I'm a big Gold Rush fan, watch it on the TV. You got to do that first, and then you can get down to the pay gravel. And so what we're doing, even though this is very interesting, is allowing us to go down these layers here. And if you're thanking the few of you that are listening to me, thank you, by the way. There's no money here in this thing, and I'm not here to get clicks or whatnot. I've been a biology professor at a university here in Arkansas, right down the road in Little Rock, since 1995. I like to teach. I like to help people learn, give you my journey. That's why I call this the process. And that's why I founded Science of Fantasy Football with my co-founder, D. Mike. And it's nice to have somebody. He comes from a meteorological background, and so he's definitely into forecasting and data, so he really appreciates this. But anyway, we are just starting the levels here in February. This is not the time to so-called plant your flag or whatever these euphemisms are on Twitter. It amuses me to no end. People get so bored, they whip things up into shape, and they just, I don't know who they're playing to. But you should be looking back at how you drafted last year. You should be updating your diary and think about what you did last year and how you can improve this year. And I'm showing you my process. What's interesting when you look at this data, for the most part, rounds 1 and 2 tend to fall pretty close to each other. So if you were to kind of circle this here, this would be kind of one level, right? This would be deeper level. Notice the drop, which is interesting, from 2 to 3. So that's about 20% drop, folks, in worth at the end of the season. Again, we're looking at averages, right? And notice 1 and 2 are about the same. So when you're constructing draft plans, don't be so enamored with draft 1 and 2 necessarily. Now, 19 to 23, clearly, if you look at the last 5 years, round 1 was superior to round 2, but 18 to 15 back, actually round 2 worked out a little better. So in the big scheme of things, I'm not sure you can wholly rely on round 1 RBs as a group versus round 2. You might be able to get away with some bargains there, especially if you're looking at the weekly levels here. But anyway, we kind of, if I were to circle the groups, I would say 1, I would say rounds 3 and 4. And notice the drop here from 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Looks like 5 to 9 is another group. Or one might say 5 to 8, and 9 is the anomaly here. Isn't that interesting that in both groups of 4 and 5 years, round 9 RBs have been breaking the rules? This is what I call a giraffe. It's sticking his head above the fray. So I'm not sure if that's psychological. I got to investigate what is going on with round 9. Have you heard of that? On Twitter, go look. No, people, nobody is talking that. If they are talking it, it's behind paywalls. I don't think they're talking it. I don't think people are even thinking about this stuff till about July or so, flapping their chops. So it looks to me like you have the same kind of show here from 5 to 8. So just by thinking, it would make sense to draft later in this block than earlier. In other words, one might be spending time with wide receivers and then drafting, certainly round 9 looking hard, but in this level, drafting, so kind of get you one. I mean, you could do running back, wide receiver, but this all, and again, I haven't plotted the wide receivers on top of this yet, but I do note 9. And then after that, it's like the rug starts being pulled out. And, the idea that you're going to find the sleepers in this, you've missed the pay gravel here, folks. Round 9's about 70% of the show. Not bad. So we're talking between 60 and 70% of the show, whereas rounds 3 and 4 are about 70%. So in some ways, rounds 3, 4, and 9 should be a group if you looked at percentage of the yearly max, and 5, 6, 7, and 8 would be around 60%. Very intriguing. Very intriguing what that means. I know what it means to me, but I'm presenting that data. So I wanted, I don't know how long, 9 minutes. So I wanted just to show this a little bit. And this might give us some insight into draft plans in the summer. But just don't forget this. Again, top down is the way to go in my process. Okay, we'll talk to you later. Probably not going to advertise this on Twitter. I figured if you know where I'm at now and follow me, you deserve this more than the lazabouts on the Twitter. Okay, later. More coming. I just get bored and I have to talk. Imagine that.